Who's Quentin Miller?
Quentin Miller. Quentin Miller is a kid that I was introduced to through Boy Wonder. Me and Boy Wonder were working on a project at the time. I had said to him, I want to do a mixtape. I want to do it quick. I want to surprise people. And I want him to executive produce it. So we were working and we were like, going through the motions of, building a project. And he was like, yo, I got this kid. And, sometimes I send him beats and he just cooks up ideas. And he's like, yo, his ideas, they're good, He's like, they need work, but they're good. So yeah, at the time, I was like, all right, dope, let's collaborate. Let's line it up, And yeah, I started working with this kid, and I think we ended up doing about 5 songs together in total, a few of which were on that project and a few of which just made their way out. And yeah, I mean, he was a guy that I collaborated on music with, and I'm proud to sit here in front of you and say that, Meek Mill, at the time, due to some issue with Nicki, whatever it was, decided to create a narrative that I don't write my own music, because that was what was convenient for him at the time, and he caught wind of it. It's unfortunate too, because Quentin was being managed by DJ Drama and Don Cannon, who ended up really fucking his shit up, because they were just really just messy with the shit unnecessarily. But yeah, he decided to create this narrative that I don't write my own music. And the reason why I never felt necessarily pressured to sit down and defend myself right away or go do an interview is just because, I mean, anybody that was in those rooms, right, that worked on that project, or anybody that's been in any room with me, period, knows. First of all, knows that I am one of the best writers, period. That is what I do. That's what I'm known for. I mean, I go and write for other people. I write my biggest songs, my biggest hits. The massive majority of my catalog has all been written solely by me, which is a big feat, because music is a collaborative process. And at that given time, with those isolated records, they just wouldn't be what they were if it wasn't for me, I mean, if it wasn't for my pen and my contributions to that, and not taking away from him. I mean, we did great work together in a very small space. Right. And yeah, I mean, it really just kind of blossomed into this thing where I became the poster child for ghostwriting, which is a huge conversation now in music. And if I was like an evil spirit, if I had a different agenda, I could sit here and tell you how this shit really works. I could sit here and tell you 10, 20 people that are worse than me, that literally take everything and it's just a verbatim process but I'm not like that, When my peers get a record, I'm happy. It's great. It doesn't matter where it comes from. I don't care, But for me, it was a big deal because it just wasn't the truth, And like I said, but if I have to be the poster child for it, and if you choose to after finding out about that situation, discredit my entire catalog or my career, or you were going to discredit me anyway, so you may as well just go forward with that. And I've come to peace with that, I mean, but yeah, I really when it came to that whole writing situation, I never felt the urge to have to defend myself, because if you ask about any of the biggest Drake records ever, I've done them all. Right. And if you ask about those Quentin Miller sessions, I was there, I was working. There would be no second half of Know Yourself, and the bars wouldn't be as good if it wasn't for me on any of those songs. And we sit down and we talk about cadences and we talk about which lines to do and whatever, and that's just what a collaborative experience is. And if people are that naive and they think that doesn't go on in music, then you're out of your mind, But because it's me, it was the first chink in my armor that people were like, oh, we got him.
DJs were happy. There's people that carried away with it.
Well, and that's the thing. And
some DJs.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the thing too. It's it really made me realize like how deep this shit really goes, because, you know, there were like these references from our sessions when we'd work together.
Yeah.
No context to those references at all, but they existed, you know? And that taught me a valuable lesson as well, which is just like, man, I can't trust anybody. You can't leave the studio with nothing. You know? And like I said, like, you know, it was really DJ Drama that got a call from somebody higher up at that time. You know, he didn't have the backbone to say no to this person. And he was like, yo, my guy's getting roasted. You got to give up. You got to give him some ammo to keep, we got to keep Drake down. And that was really when I realized like how deep this really is. And yeah, I mean, that whole situation, you know, it was what it was. And I can sit here right now. You could interview Meek and you could ask him if he thinks it was worth it. I bet he'll tell you no.
How did it feel, you know, to see it play out with Meek? And I'm asking this now not because I'm trying to instigate or cause more trouble or anything, but just as a fan and as a DJ seeing it unfold, like for both artists, like yourself and Meek, it was kind of crazy, because it was like, I think as fans we all thought everything was cool, and then Meek comes out, you know, and for you personally, though, how did that feel? Because you've been on tracks with him before, you know, the Amen joint and other stuff, you know.
I mean, it's just a pattern in my career, you know. There's just this one-sided switch that happens with people. I don't understand it. You could ask me about a bunch of people in this interview, and you could literally ask me what my problem is with them, and I'll tell you, I don't have one. You know, I watched him say that it was about posting an album or some show that I found out about the day before that I couldn't get to in time. It's not about any of that. You know, when somebody makes a decision to say, all right, everybody's supporting this guy, maybe I should be the guy to go against him. Or they just have a series of events that gets them aggravated enough to do that. That's what happens, you know? And unfortunately, on display for the world, that was a terrible, impulsive decision because you weren't ready. And in my mind, you know, I study the game, and not only that, but I'm a very calculated thinker. I'm sitting here thinking you're ready for it. I was sitting here, like my mind was going 1,000 miles a minute. I'm thinking this goes so high up that I'm about to see the craziest shit I've ever seen. I didn't know who was going to be on a diss track with him or what he had ready. I thought this was like 3 months in the making, and I'm just like getting blindsided. And then when I dropped Charged Up, just to see just to kind of see what the preparation level was, I realized I was like, oh wow, you're not ready. This was like really your just emotions about something. I don't even know what it was, but this is just your emotion. Okay, now you know that was the moment where it was. I remember I was in the studio and I was working on some beat. I knew I had to do something, you know. I knew I had to retaliate because I realized he was unprepared. And when you realize someone is unprepared, you have to strike. And I was in the studio, and it was like some kind of like rap beat, you know. I probably would have gone like 80 bars on it. And somebody that's very important to me said to me, listen, if you're gonna do this next move, you have to finish it forever, and he has to live with it forever. That means he has to hear it all the time. It can't be some. And I was like, you know,
who said that?
I can't. I can't. It's great advice, though. A true champion said it. I'll put it to you that way. It's not some. Like, it's not one of my friends. Like a real person that like goes to war and like wins all the time, like a true champion. You know, And that was when I just switched it around, you know. That was around like midnight, and this kid walked into the studio for the first time, and played a beat, and the beat was too slow. And I told 40, man, I like the drums, speed it up like about 15 BPM. And when he sped it up, he just sped the whole beat up. He didn't just speed the drums up. And that was when I just heard like, and I was like, oh man. I was like, all right, this is it.
Yeah.
And by 4:30 in the morning, the record was out, and that was pretty much it. It was over.
Back to Back was brutal. Like, line for line, you made it a club classic. Like, girls sing along with it, you know?
But you know, the biggest thing was, because I don't have real hatred for him, the key was like, first of all, my biggest focus the entire time was I cannot disrespect Nicki Minaj or use Nicki Minaj in any way other than to lift her up. I just, that's not in my character, you know? I didn't go the route of calling him a bunch of terrible names, and I just used wit. I just used wit and good writing, ironically enough. Great writing to just win that situation, you know? Obviously, yeah, the beat the beat was perfect because it lived in the club. It didn't live, like, it wasn't like, oh, have you heard this? And then you listen to it 2 times and you dismiss it. No, like, people have to, like, DJs have to take a hit when you're hosting a party because they can't play the biggest record of the night because you're standing there. Yeah. You know, it hurt. It hurt, and I wanted it to hurt, you know? Yeah. I really did. Because it wasn't just like, oh, man, you know, I could take a lot of things, a lot of criticism, a lot of, like, you know, negativity. People say terrible things about me, and that's fine. You know, that is just, unfortunately, this very sad generation we live in where, you know, people get off on, like, bullying people on the internet. And so I can take all that. But, man, you really tried to, like, and you know how good I am at writing music, but you really tried to not only spin the entire narrative of my career, but, like, end my life and, like, take food from my family and, like, really try and, like, pretty much end it all. And you didn't even do it through music. You just talked or tweeted. It was like sickening to me. Like, I had to really get revenge on that situation. And like I said, you know, like, I respect revenge when it's warranted, and that was just warranted, you know, and it was what it was. And it's not something, like, again, it's not something that I'm proud of because it took just as much of an emotional toll on me. I mean, maybe not as much as it did on him, but it took an emotional toll on me. You know, it's just a lot. You know, you always got to hear about it, and you know, even just seeing people get so riled up off negativity, it didn't feel great, but it just was what had to happen at the time, and yeah, I guess that's just kind of rap is a sport, you know, and finally, I've always said the problem with rap is we never have a trophy at the end of the year or any stats to prove. Finally, it's just like a clear win. You know, and it you know, that was the only part about it that felt good, was like, oh, I finally got to compete when I was doubted and win. And that was like, you know, that was pretty much the only positive of it. But the rest of it was just all trash, man. It was like, it was just embarrassing to witness, you know. And if he had, like, revealed some huge thing, you know, you would have heard a lot more people like peers of mine, like, chime in. I mean, you know, I think every single person that I've ever worked with or shared studio time with knows how hard I work, man. And, like, to try and discredit me for that is, you know, it's crazy. I mean, that's just what I'm known for. That's what I do, you know. So
Jay-Z and Nas, they said some savage things about each other. Like,
song with gigs, and I'm seeing all this on my IG under, like, some random picture of people being like, you took this kid's flow or whatever, right? So I'm just like, yo, what's happening to me right now, you know? So I'm sitting there, I'm trying to read, like, figure out who they're talking about. I find out who they're talking about.
Is this the Extension guy?
I don't even think that's how you say his name. But yeah, that's
I tried to practice.
They call him
Extension.
X. So anyway, I go and I find what song they're talking about, you know? And I listen to it. I'm like, okay, I see where people could draw, like, this comparison off of, like, the first 2 lines, whether it be the cadence or the rhyme pattern or whatever, you know. And I'm just like, yo, it's crazy that people think that after all this time, after all I've been through, that I'm the type of person to go pre some song that's on SoundCloud. It doesn't have, like, 2 plays. It has plays, you know. He has his cult following, and go and think that I'm gonna, like, take that and make it my own. Like, I'm not stupid. I'm not like a person like that, you know. So it just.
How's it feel to be at the top of the game now?
What's up, y'all? It's Papa Low Legs. I wonder how you guys feel about Drake talking about Meek Mill saying that he'll basically fight for his life because Meek Mill tried to ruin his career all because of Nicki Minaj. And Drake felt like he had to do what he had to do, and he was shocked that Meek Mill wasn't prepared for the diss songs, because Meek Mill diss songs wasn't that good compared to Drake's, and that he felt like him and Meek Mill never be friends, and I don't blame him for that. I feel like Meek Mill should have went harder because he did get my attention when he called out Drake, because Drake's one of my favorite rappers. And I was shocked that Drake don't write all his songs. And then he even talked about X, that people saying that he stole X, that he like, no, he never really heard of X before. And he had to go look up the song and stuff. And X came back at Drake and he pissed off. That nigga got a phone in jail and shit. He said Drake career almost over. He better start investing money into real estate because once it's all over, he really going to see the fake love. I'm not the first nigga he bit, nor will I be the last. Drake, a pussy nigga. Money don't buy you respect. God damn. Now this pussy nigga trying to play it safe and play it innocent is cool. We all know Hotline Bling was a bite off Cha-Cha. Yeah, that's true. I'm not gonna say no names, but it's funny how one of my niggas hit me up saying Drake, watch your interview and fucks with. I don't know how you guys feel about what X said, man. X need to chill. Hopefully he got out of jail so he can show his potential because his songs are not that good to me. And Drake career ain't gonna be done. Drake is the biggest thing out right now. Drake can make a song of him farting, it gonna be a hit. But I don't know how you guys feel about it. Comment below, man.